Hi guys, very good morning to all of you. I hope all of you will be well. And in the last lecture, we started with the subject cost accounting. We did a brief study about what is the meaning of cost accounting, what is the need of this subject, how is it different from the financial accounting, and what is going to be the boundary of our syllabus. And after the mapping of all those things, we started with the chapter number 1 formally, that is the cost sheet. So we said the cost sheet, it's a sheet or a statement having the components of the cost, having the various components of the cost, and there is no set frequency to prepare. The management may want to prepare it as and when they desire. Means its periodicity is not limited to yearly, it can be monthly, weekly, quarterly, half yearly, etc. and so on. After that, we moved to the next concept and we learned in detail about the components of the cost, which were categorized into three parts: material, labor, and expenses. We did an extensive study about that. These all three, material, labor, expenses, can be further categorized into two subparts, which is direct and indirect. Once you add up all the direct things, means the direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses, these all add up to the direct cost, which may also be termed as the prime cost. Whereas if you add up all the indirect things, that is indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses, it becomes the indirect cost, or which may be popularly called as the overheads as well. But these overheads were further divided into three different parts depending upon where the expense of overheads is incurring, depending upon where the expense is being incurred, either in the factory or in the office, or for the purpose of selling and distribution the goods, that is marketing the goods. So accordingly, these were divided into Putra three parts: production overhead, office and administration overhead, and the selling and distribution overhead. After taking this knowledge, we further moved up to the very important, the most important part, I must say, of this chapter, that is the format of the cost sheet. So we said whenever you are preparing the cost sheet, give us a proper head, give a proper header. Cost sheet of dash means the name of the organization, and for the period means for how much time you are preparing the cost sheet. First of all, you start with the direct things and then you add up later the indirect things. It goes like that: direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, which all add up to the prime cost, and after that you add all the indirect expenses. First production overhead, then office and administration overhead, and then selling and distribution overhead. So in total, we may say there are six major expenditure, three direct and the three indirect. But other than these, there were a lot of things in the cost sheet. For example, there were five special points: quality control, research development, administration overhead related to production nature, then primary packing cost, and there was one small income which was in the nature of scrap or byproduct, or you may say it as an other income, which was deducted. Then there were the stocks of three different items, that is raw material, WIP, and FG. We had to take up all these things into account when we are preparing the cost sheet. So let us do a quick study with me of the cost sheet without looking at the register. Please don't look in the register. You have not done the homework. Sir, there was no homework in the last class. Even if I am not giving any homework, it is your duty that whatever has been done in the class, you must revise after the class is over. Okay, so it is the first day. These are the beginning days. If you have not done the revision of the previous lecture, doesn't matter, no problem. But yes, from today, please inculcate this habit to revise, so that when the syllabus is complete and you are starting formally the revision number 1, the subject may not look as an alien to you. You must be familiar with the subject, for which the side by side revision is also very important. Okay, let's revise the format of the cost sheet. So first of all, direct material consumed. Direct material consumed means it is opening stock of raw material plus purchase of raw material minus closing stock of raw material plus direct labor plus direct expenses is equal to prime cost, then plus factory overheads, which can also be called as production overhead or works overhead or manufacturing overhead. When you add up it, you get the gross factory cost on FG and WIP. FG means finished goods and WIP means work in progress. After that, you say plus opening stock of WIP minus closing stock of WIP, you get the net factory cost on FG. After that, plus quality control cost plus research and development cost plus administration overhead related to the production minus other income, miscellaneous income, scrap, byproduct, credit for recovery, there are various names, then plus primary packing cost, which all add up to the cost of production, then plus opening stock of finished goods minus closing stock of finished goods, you get cost of goods sold, plus office and administration overheads of the general nature, plus marketing overhead, that means selling as well as the distribution overhead. In the end, you will add up the interest if there is any, and you will get the cost of sales, and in that you will add the profit, then it will result into sales. So this was the format of the cost sheet, which is very, very important, obviously, because in this chapter, if there is any question which asks us to prepare the cost sheet, if we do not know the format, we can do the basic mistakes and get our marks deducted, which I do not want for any of you. Okay, so let us move ahead. Today, let us move ahead. As I promised, as I told you my teaching methodology in lecture number 1, so I clearly told you that whenever we are meeting for a particular lecture, first of all we are going to do the revision of the previous lecture, and after that checking the homework if there is any of the previous lecture, and then we move ahead in the current date lecture. So let me take my pen, guys. Okay, yeah, so we had done this thing. As we know, there are now MCQs also in the syllabus. The institute asked the question having the 4 different options. So there are certain things which I will keep telling you as we progress into the syllabus. So for example, we did this concept number 3. There is a thing given in the module. I'll write it down. So in module, there is a thing written as, let us write down, cost heads in a cost sheet. What is the meaning of cost heads? Usually we may think it as all these various things, like for example, we got this prime cost after adding up various things, then we got gross factory cost, then we got net factory cost after adding up various things, then we had the cost of production, we had the cost of goods sold, and we had the cost of sales. So these may be termed as the various heads which are in the cost sheet for a layman. But when ICI has given something in its module, we should try to understand and learn that in the similar manner. So for example, when ICI gave the cost heads in its module, it ignored the factory cost. It simply said that the first head is the prime cost, the second head is the cost of production, third head is the cost of goods sold, and the fourth head is the cost of sales. So for example, you may get an MCQ in the examination, which of the following is not the cost head in the cost sheet, and the relevant option you have to tick shall be the factory cost, because ICI doesn't consider factory cost as the cost head. So we shall quickly make a list. Cost heads in a cost sheet. Let's write down A point, prime cost, B point, cost of production, C point, cost of goods sold, and D being the cost of sales. So you have to memorize this. These are the 4 heads. Or even if I say there is no need to memorize, you just should just know this, that factory cost is not considered as a cost head for the purpose of the MCQ. If you ask me, sir, isn't it a cost head? It is very much a cost head. But when ICI is given, these are the only 4 heads. Please try to memorize these in the similar fashion. This is not at all important, but yes, there is a rare chance that question may be asked in the MCQ form. Okay, so we had done the cost sheet format in the last class. We revised it today as well. We move to next point, concept number 4. Concept number 4, please write down, preparation of simple cost sheet. Preparation of simple cost sheet. So we are going to do the practical part on the base of knowledge which we have gathered till now. Preparation of child simple cost sheet. Preparation of simple cost sheet. So we have got question number 1. Please come with me to the question number 1. And now today the time has come to open our main book, that is the cost blessing. So we come to question number 1. If you remember, I told you in very starting in the lecture number 1 that these are the various things given for the benefit of students. Now I will tell you first of all what is the importance of this, and then we go to the question number 1. So if you see, I have given such things in each and every question, in each and every subject. Now what does this mean? First of all, you see these are the various things written against the question number. One is the concept number, one is the register number, page number, answer, and then there is some symbol like this having various stars. Okay, so when we come over here, you see first of all the concept number, because as I told you in the very first lecture that my methodology of teaching is to break the entire chapter into various small concepts, and not to then go in a haphazard manner, but to categorically, systematically assign the number to each and every concept. For example, as of now we wrote over here concept number 4, preparation of simple cost sheet, and this is the question number 1 which belongs to this concept. So what will you do? You will write down concept number 4. You will write down 4 against this. Then what is this register number? When you will study with me, you will fill various registers, which may be depending upon size of your register. Some students may fill 2, some may fill 3 registers, some may fill 4 register. So you will mark your register number. As of now, I know that obviously the batch has now started, so it is going to be the register number 1. Now, what is this page number thing? As we know, in your register, there are various page numbers. What you will do, page numbers are not pre-written, you have to write it. For example, I show you. So this is my register, for example. Okay, this is my register, for example. I'll take you to this screen. So let's say this is the page number 1. Then on back of this is the page number 2. Then page number 3. And page number 4 like this. Why I'm saying it in detail? Because some students may what they may do, sir, page number 1, sir, page number 2, sir, page number 3. No, you have to write down the page number even in the back. So 1 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this, and then 4 is this, like this. So sir, what is the meaning of this? What is the relevant of this? First of all, you don't need to write down the page number in the register yourself. There may be mom, dad, younger brother, sister, any sibling, or there may be some child in the neighborhood. You may ask them, please come here, write down the page number. So in hierarchy, starting from 1 till the end, you have to write down the page number. Now this question number 1, for example, where you are solving in your register, the register is having this page number 12. So you will write down page number 12 over here. Okay, now whenever we are solving any question, some questions may be such that there are multiple answers, but some questions multiple answer in the sense, for example, it is asking for A, B, C, D, E. Sorry, sorry, I did not show the screen. So you will write down the page number 12 over here. I said, for example, if it is the page number 12, then with respect to answer, there may be certain questions where there are multiple things asked. In that case, obviously it may not be possible, or you may write down the final answer. Otherwise, obviously we will encounter lot of some such questions as well where there is one final answer. So you will write down that final answer over here. Sir, what is the relevance of this? Believe me, when you are going to revise, when you are doing your revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, or I may say just a day before the examination you are studying. For example, this book is having almost 350 questions. Out of those 350, you have to revise on the last day only 50 questions. So you are saying question number 1, you, for example, you want to revise this. Now in the whole register, how will you find where is this question number 1? So when looking at this, you will get to know, okay, boss, this is in register number 1, page number 12, and this belongs to my concept number 4. So immediately on in that particular register, you can straight away open page number 12 to have the answer of this particular question. This is such a trick which I used to do when I was a student. Now some students say, sir, how did you get such 5 ranks, sir? You got even all India rank 1, sir. Sir, this is a record in itself, sir. What different things you used to do? So it was simple. I used to study everything in a crystal clear concept manner. Means till the time the concept was not clear, there was no fun of doing the questions. The first thing was to understand the concept, and in a very disciplined manner to follow my schedules, which were very, very hectic schedules, and such things which I tell my students to do. There may be some of you who may think, what is it going to do? You may take it as a joke. You may think that this is not going to help. But believe me, a day before the examination, when the time, you don't measure in hours or minute, you measure the time in seconds. For example, just remember the examination hall where the teacher is saying you, okay boss, last 2 minutes, just hand over your sheets to me in next 2 minutes. You will say, no, no, ma'am, please let me write. I want to write more. So that is the importance of the time. So you don't have to waste the time, and wherever it can be saved, I am here to guide you to give you the strategies. Okay. Then what is the benefit of writing this answer over here? For example, you are doing your revision before the exams. There is a particular question. You are not very sure whether you are clear about this or not. So what did you do? You took the calculator in your hand and you started solving on the calculator. If after doing the question on calculator, you get the same answer which is over here, means you are arithmetically, mathematically correct with respect to the answer, and you may not have the need to see this particular question's answer in the notebook. So your time is saved. Okay. Sir, what is this last symbol? As you can see, there are various stars. So basically, this is the star rating. There are various questions which are very, very important, or I may say which are very, very tricky, which are must to revise on the examination day. So what we will do, there are various questions on which I will ask you to write down the rating. There are various questions where I will write down. For example, it is a 5-star question. So obviously you will note that with me that it's a 5-star question, so that on the examination day you may definitely revise it. You may not leave it. Plus, there will be questions where I will write down the star rating, not on all. If you are thinking, sir, will give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rating to each and every question. No, there are very less number of questions where I will give you the rating, and the rating shall be only 5. Means these are the most important questions. With respect to the other questions, it is your choice. When you are studying, when you are revising, it may be possible that a certain thing may not be difficult for one student, but it may be difficult for the other student. So for the student for whom it is difficult, then it may assign the rating of 5. So you may not miss it, and you definitely revise it on the day of examination. This is the purpose of this. Now, sir, what is this TRG keynote? Sir, what is this TRG? So this is a title given to me, the Rahul Garg, by the students. I think I forgot whether I told you it in the lecture number 1, but if I told you it's a repetition, then please forgive me. So what is this TRG keynote? Now it may be possible that in a particular question there is something special which you want to jot down. Okay, so this is the key point in this question. Rest everything is easy, rest everything is understandable in that particular question. So you may write down particular thing over here, and at the time of revision it may be possible that you need not solve the full answer, you may need not go through the full answer. You have just written down this point, and you may channelize your energy to understand this point and to see this point only. So this is the TRG keynote. Now this is the thing which has been done in each and every chapter, in each and every question, in each and every subject I am teaching as of now. So these things are very, very important, going to help you definitely. Okay, so after doing a brief about this, now, so we wrote down question number 4. Register number definitely is 1. Page number depends which page number is it is in your register, and the answer, it's your choice. This is definitely not a 5-star question. Okay, so we are going to do this question. What is the methodology of doing the question? First of all, we have to read and understand the question very carefully. After that, we shall go to solve it. Okay. So it says following information has been obtained from the records of Z Limited from June 1 to June 30th, 2008. So it's an information of 1 month. Okay. On June 1 and on June 30. So we see there's a raw material 60 and 50,000. June 1. June 1 means it is the opening stock, and 30th June means it is the closing stock. WIP 12,000, 15,000 opening closing stock of FJs 90,000 and 1 lakh 10,000. So we have been given the opening and closing stocks of all the 3 items. Then it says purchase of raw material during this month is 480. You paid the wages 240. There was a factory overhead of rupee 1 lakh. Administration overhead related to production is 50,000. Selling and distribution overhead is 25,000, and the sales is rupee 10 lakh. So each and every item is clearly understandable. There is no hard thing in this question. So it says prepare a statement giving the following information: material consumed, prime cost, factory cost, COGS, and net profit. So obviously we have to prepare the cost sheet, and when we prepare the cost sheet, these all items shall be identified by default. But you have to be very careful, as the question has A point material consumed. So institute doesn't want to find out this item in the cost sheet. You will have to show A against the material consumed. You will have to show B against the prime cost. So we have to consider that thing as well. Okay. Let us come to our registers to start solving this question. Let us write down answer number 1. So answer number 1. So it is cost sheet of Z Limited for the month of June 2008. Serial number, particulars. You may make a column of details where you may show the, it's like an internal column where you may show any relevant detail. Okay. So how do we start? First of all, we shall go to the opening stock of raw material. In the cost sheet, first item is material consumed. And for that material consumed, question has given us the details of opening stock, closing stock, and purchases. So we write down like this. Opening stock of raw materials is, it says 60,000 plus child. The purchases of raw material is also given. So we will say plus purchases of raw materials, which is 4,80,000, and minus closing stock of raw materials, which is 50,000. So when we solve this, we get the cost of material consumed, or I can simply say raw material consumed. So we will write down raw material consumed, and the question gave it A point. So we'll write down A. So when ICI is checking my answer, it can simply look at the serial number where A is written. Then they will know, the teacher will know that we have done the raw material consumed against A number. It can directly see over here for the final answer. Okay, when you solve this, you get 4,90,000. So this is our A point. Then the question has wages paid. We know after this we get the direct wages. So question has written wages paid. If nothing is written, means it is the direct wages. This is the direct wages. How much? 2,40,000. You add up these two. There was direct expense as well. There used to be direct expense, but it is very unimportant item. In very less number of question, you will get something called direct expense. As in this question also, you see with the information given flow, there is nothing given about the direct expense. Okay. So you add up these two and you get B point as asked by the question, prime cost. So when you add up these two, 490 plus 240, 490 plus 240, you get 7,30,000. After that, the question has given you factory overheads. We shall add it. Plus factory overheads, child, rupee 1 lakh. When you add it, you get the gross factory cost. You get the gross factory cost. And I had told you this is the gross factory cost on the FG and WIP. If you want to write, you can write down those wordings as well. And this gives us 8,30,000 as the gross factory cost. After this, we have to consider the opening and closing stock of WIP. So, plus opening stock of work in progress and minus closing stock of work in progress, minus closing stock of work in progress. The opening stock of WIP is 12,000 and the closing stock being 15,000. So you get this as the net factory cost. Now in the point number C, you see in the point number C, it has asked for the factory cost. You may not be thinking that whether it is asking for the gross or net. Whenever the question is saying anything related to factory cost or it is asking for the factory cost, it is definitely the net factory cost. It is definitely the net factory cost. So this is our point number C, net factory cost. As the question has not asked for the net word, so we may put the net in bracket to show that yes, it is the factory cost as asked by the question. So 830 plus 12 minus 15, it will give us 8,27,000. After this, there used to be different points: quality control, R&D, which are not in the question. Then there used to be admin overhead related to production, that is definitely given. So we shall add it. We will say plus administration overheads related to production, given by the question rupee 50,000. So when you add it, and okay, there used to be one scrap thing which is not given. There used to be one primary packing which is again not given. So till this point we will get cost of production. Has the question asked the cost of production from you? No, the question has not asked. So there will not be any number, either D, etc. So we will simply say is equal to, we will simply say is equal to cost of production. We get 8,77,000. Now we do the adjustment for the stock of finished goods. So we will say plus opening stock of finished goods and child minus closing stock of finished goods. The opening stock of FG is given as 90,000 and the closing stock is given as 1,10,000. So overall you see 20,000 minus. So 857,000 it will remain, and the question is given at number D. So it is cost of goods sold. So this is a very good question for the practice of cost sheet which we have done till now. So 877 minus 20, you get 8,57,000. After this, there are 2 points: administration overheads of general nature and selling and distribution overhead. But as we see in the question, there is no admin overhead which is of general nature. So there is only selling and distribution overheads. We will say plus selling and distribution overheads which are of rupee 25,000. As you add it up, you get the cost of sales 857 plus 25. It gives us 8,82,000. Then you add up the net profit in this, plus the question has given the wording net profit, otherwise it is simply profit, and it is given as point number E, as a point number E. When you add it up, you get the figure of sales. The value of sales is given to us in the question as rupee. The value of sales is given in the question as rupee 10 lakh. So net profit, you get it as a balancing figure of 1,18,000 rupee, and in this manner the answer ends. Please note down if there is anything remaining, then we move. Ji guys, I hope we are comfortable with this. We are done with this. Okay, now comes into play. Now comes into play the Abhyasika. I told you there are certain questions from the Guru Mantra series which we will do in class. So this was our first question from the Guru Mantra, and let me check if there is any question relating to this concept number 4 in our Abhyasika. and if there is any, you will mark it as a homework. So this question is given. This question is given. This question number 10 belongs to concept number 4, and this will remain in homework. So after the lecture, you are going to solve it in a separate register marked as homework register, and I am going to check it in the next class. Though it is a homework, I should not tell anything, but still you may see there is an office and admin expense given. It says 40% of production nature. It means 60% belongs to general nature, which will appear after COGS. One more thing, as you see over here, work in progress. So some students may get confused. In WIP, it is given the materials. Some may think it is the opening and closing stock of material. No, I told you very clearly. I told you very clearly in the lecture that when you do the WIP, this WIP, okay, you have to see over here, guys. You have to see over here. If you see against the WIP, I told you that it has the components of material, labor, expense, and factory overhead. So when the question is giving you the bifurcation in material, labor, factory expense, etc., this bifurcation is not relevant. You may simply add up these three and write down the total. For example, this becomes 28,000. So this is the opening stock of WIP. In WIP means, it simply means to say, for the units which are in WIP, rupee 10,000 of material has been incurred, 12,000 of labor has been incurred, and 6,000 rupee of factory expense has been incurred on that particular goods. Similarly, when you add up these three, you will get the closing stock, which becomes, I think it becomes, yeah, it becomes 36,000. So you are going to solve it in this manner. Okay. Now we have to do the next concept, and after that we shall solve the questions. Okay. Now let us come back first to our. Okay. Ajay. So what we had done, I made you understand the format of the cost sheet. We did each and every item in detail. Now, how ICI can make the things difficult for us? For example, we write down direct material consumed. In overall, majorly three things are here: opening plus purchase minus closing stock. But this is not the end. This is not the end. This list is not exhaustive. There may be any other adjustment relating to material. Similarly, there may be adjustment relating to, I should not say there may be adjustment, there may be certain expenses which you will have to identify whether it belongs to factory, belongs to office, or selling, or it's a part of direct expense. So we are going to study some of the items, some of the important item of cost sheet in detail, so that when the question is giving us the things in detail, we don't get confused and we take a particular item of expense in a correct head rather than the wrong head. So come with me, let's write down concept number 5. Let's write down concept number 5. Let's write down detailed study of detailed study of cost sheet items. Detailed study of cost sheet items. So we had given certain numbers over here. I will take the number from here only. We are not going to talk about every point, but about the major important points. For example, number 1, material consumed. We are going to talk about this. Number 3, number 5, and so on. So let's write down first of all, number 1. Direct materials consumed. Direct material consumed. You may say it raw material consumed as well. Let's first of all make a list. Let's first of all make a list. So first of all, opening stock of raw material plus child purchases of raw material minus closing stock of raw material minus purchase return of raw material plus plus carriage inwards minus carriage on purchase return plus carriage on purchase return minus trade discount or grant or subsidy plus duties and taxes on purchase plus duties and taxes on purchase in bracket write down if ITC not available. If ITC not available plus insurance in the bracket transit only, the bracket transit only plus loading oblique unloading of material, loading oblique unloading of material minus scrap of material minus scrap of material. Now write down minus normal loss of material. I will write down in short form as RM. Normal loss of raw material minus scrap on normal loss of raw material minus abnormal loss of material and minus scrap on abnormal loss of raw material. We are going to understand abhi. Okay na? We have just written all the points over here. Now we will understand this one by one. And these last four items shall be put in a special box. Last four items. Let us understand. So the first thing over here is opening stock of material, which we know, and closing stock of material is deducted, we know. We said purchase of raw material, if there is any, add it. Obviously, if you have purchased certain material and you return something out of it, you will deduct that because effectively it has not been used. Okay, till here. Then there is something I've written over here, carriage inward. What is the meaning of carriage inward? When you purchase the goods, then the expenditure which you have incurred to bring the goods from the location of purchase till your factory, that is called as carriage inward, freight inward. Inward means that the goods are coming in the factory to my premises. So that expenditure is definitely added. Then I have written carriage on purchase return, means when the goods were being returned, the goods were being returned from out of those which you purchased. If there is any expenditure has been incurred, this is that carriage on purchase return. Very, very important. Very, very important. It will not come here. Sir, it will not come here. Then why did you write? Because if I had not written and cut it, you may wrongly put it over here. So what is the best thing in this case? First of all, write it down and then cut it, because it will then be in your memory. Now don't cut it like this. Don't cut it that you are unable to see it. My purpose is that you may see it, that there's a line going above that, through that. So you have to cut it in this manner. Okay, so this is carriage on purchase return. It doesn't come here. It goes to the factory overheads. It doesn't come here. In the material consumed, only those expenses are considered which have been incurred to bring the goods till my factory. If there is any expense incurred after that, for example, I bought 100 units, I bought 100 pieces. The goods came to the factory, I paid rupee dash on them, freight inward including etc. Everything has to be added. Now after 2 days I see that out of those 100 pieces there are 8 particular pieces which are not good. Now I am sending those return, I am sending those back as a purchase return. For their transport also I have incurred certain expenditure. Now we are saying that carriage which belongs to the purchase return should not be added, because it is not the expenditure to bring the goods to the factory, it has been incurred after that. Okay, at the time of purchase it may be possible that you got some trade discount or the government gave you certain grant, about which we learn in detail in the accounting standard number 12 when we do it in advanced account. Government grants or any subsidy etc has been given, because as it has reduced my cost, so I need to deduct this. Then very important, insurance, transit only. I purchased the goods at particular location and this is my factory, so the expenditure which I have incurred from the point of purchase till the factory, this insurance we are saying shall be added. Reason, expenditure incurred to bring the goods to my factory. Once the goods have reached the factory, after that also I have incurred certain expense on the insurance. That insurance expense will not come over here, that goes to the factory overhead, because it has been done in the factory to preserve the raw material. Then you may have incurred certain amount on the loading of material or on the unloading of material. It is very simple, that should be added. This is very special point now. Duties and taxes on purchase. When you purchase something, the government, as per the government guidelines, some taxes have been added in the bill. Now the question arises whether I need to add those duties and taxes as well in my cost. Means when I am preparing the cost sheet, should I include that duty and taxes also? So first of all, the duties and taxes which are incurred at the time of sale purchase of goods, these are called as the indirect taxes. Now India is currently going through the patch where GST is our main indirect tax. GST means the indirect tax as of now. One nation, one tax. They introduced it on the 1st of July 2017, leaving apart the excise, VAT, etc. Right? So that is the case. Now, for example, this is my bill. This is my bill. 100 rupees my taxable amount, 10 rupee is the, or I will say, let's say 18 rupees is the GST, and the total bill amount is 118. So the question is with respect to this 18 rupee duties and taxes on purchase, whether it will be added or not. It is very simple. If the credit means ITC, input tax credit, if ITC is available, then it doesn't become the part of my cost. If its ITC is not available, if the credit is not available, in that case it becomes the part of my cost. So we have accordingly written this only over here. If you will see, if ITC not available, I will add up this cost only if the ITC means the credit of this is not available. Okay, then scrap, sir, no, scrap doesn't come here, sir. Scrap goes there, sir. Scrap goes there. Where, putter, where? Sir, here, sir. Sir, you wrote down, sir. Sir, you don't wrote down scrap over here. How can you write down scrap in the material? Please understand very carefully. If you are saying about this scrap, this is the scrap which is originating in the factory, in the manufacturing process. In the manufacturing process, the material, labor, different kind of materials are being mixed in the factory. For example, I have a factory to make the biscuits. What do? I take various ingredients like wheat, like maida, like sugar, like some artificial sweeteners. If it's a cashew biscuit, for example, we take some cashew mix, etc. And then we manufacture the biscuit. For example, I manufactured 1 lakh biscuits a day. But while manufacturing, there are certain contents which get left behind. Now this is the scrap which is rising during the manufacturing process, so that scrap will for sure be deducted from here only. But over here, which I just wrote down, I wrote it is the scrap of raw materials, means it is the scrap of that wheat, of that maida, which was stored in the factory. So if it is the scrap of material, it will be deducted here only. It will be deducted here only. Very important. Now there can be the loss of material, which may be either the normal loss or it may be the abnormal loss. What is the meaning of normal loss? Normal loss is something which is unavoidable. You cannot control it. If I have bought 100 liter of petrol, it is bound to happen that 2 liters will evaporate and I will be left with the 98 liter. Now it is very simple to understand. I have incurred the cost of 100 liter, but I need to I need to recover this cost only from the 98 liter because 2 liter cost has gone, because 2 liter have literally gone, that has been evaporated. So I am unable to sell 100 liter of petrol. I can now only sell 98 liter of petrol. So I need to recover the cost of 100 liter from 98 liter only. So the question to you is, should we deduct the cost of those 2 liters? The answer is no, because normal loss is something which is bound to happen, which will happen every time. So I will recover the cost of this from the consumer. So we do not ever deduct the normal loss. Cut कीजिए please. Please have a line crossed over this. Okay. Then there is scrap of the normal loss. For example, my normal loss is there for sure. Normally something which will be definitely there. If it is definitely there, there will be some scrap. There may be some scrap as well. And yes, if there is any scrap, that should definitely be deducted. So question if says there is any scrap of the normal loss, you have to very much deduct it. Then there comes the abnormal loss. Then there comes the abnormal loss. What is the meaning of abnormal loss? Abnormal loss is something which was not bound to happen, but it has happened. For example, the theft. The truck was coming, and on the journey, it parked the truck to have some eatables, to have certain breakfast or lunch. In the meantime, some goons came and they took 5 liter of petrol from the truck. Now, this is abnormal loss. Should I charge the cost? Should I recover the cost of this from the consumer? The answer is no. Why? Because if today 5 liter has been stolen, is it sure that every time 5 liter will be stolen? It may be very much possible that there is no theft. It may be possible there is a theft of 10 liter or 15 liter or 20 liter or 2 liter. So every time there is a theft, if I'm going to recover the cost of from the consumer, my MRP will be different. Sometimes I will say I am going to charge you 50 rupee per liter. Sometimes I'm going to say I'm going to charge you rupees 60 per liter, because this time the theft, this time the stealing by the goons has been of much more amount. In this case, the customer will simply reject you. They will simply blacklist you, because your MRP is changing day by day. So for any abnormal loss of material, we can't charge the amount from the customer, and we should deduct the cost from the material. So if there is an abnormal loss, its cost shall be deducted, but opposite is the case when comes the scrap. For example, if there has been an abnormal loss, I say, let's say there has been an abnormal loss of 1000 rupee, and I have by sale recovered 200 rupee, then I need not take into account, because abnormal loss is not happening every time. So it's all scrap is also not happening every time. In that case, I have deducted already the 1000 rupee. So this 200 rupee I am not going to deduct from my cost. What we do in such case, I am telling you, this is not asked in examination. We will study this in the chapter process account. We prepare an account of the abnormal loss, where we will say that 1000 rupee has been my loss, 200 rupee I have been able to recover, and rest 800 rupees shall go to my costing P&L account. But in the cost sheet, we don't deduct the scrap of the abnormal loss. Now this is something which is usually not asked by examination, but you should know. If ever it asks, the students usually make a mistake. So you have to just memorize this. You have to just remember this. Normal loss is not deducted, it's a scrap is deducted. Whereas for abnormal loss, the abnormal loss is deducted, not its scrap. Okay. So this is about the point number 1. Next point, point number 3. Sir, no sir, it is point 1, so you should write point 2. No, 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 point number 3. Point number 2 was about the wages. Sir, please don't forget, I told you. Point number 2 is regarding the direct labor. There is nothing special to write about this. We are going to write down for point number 3. We are going to write down for point number direct expenses. The other name for direct expenses is the chargeable expenses. It is also called by the name of chargeable expenses. Second item was direct labor in the cost sheet. When we talk about the direct labor, the question may give either simply the wages paid, or it may give the various components. Like it may say, this is the amount has been paid to the workers. or it may say this is the amount of bonus which has been paid, this is the amount of provident fund. So we just have to simply add all of these up, which shows that this is the total amount which has been incurred by the organization for my direct labor. Okay, so next part is direct expenses. Let's write down one by one. First, royalty paid on production. Royalty paid on production. Number two, higher charges for specific equipment. Fees for technical assistance. Cost of product specific. Cost of product specific drawing or design. Cost of product specific software. Cost of product specific software. Amortized cost of molds, patents, etc. Cost of utilities. Cost of utilities such as cost of utilities such as power and fuel, steam, etc. At the end, job charges paid to job workers. Job charges paid to job workers. So these are certain components under the direct expenses. Now this is the list which is given as per the ICAI. It is not sure whether these will be given in the question, but we should understand these are the major things. Number one is royalty paid on production. If you remember in the lecture one, in the previous lecture, I gave you the example when we were doing the direct expense that I am paying rupee 5,000 or 10,000 per phone to Samsung. So what was that? What was that expenditure for? It was mainly to use the name of the Samsung. So it was basically the royalty which was I was paying on the production. Means any number of handset I produce, I write on the name Samsung. I have to pay rupee 10,000. So that's a direct expense. It says higher charges for specific equipment. For example, there is a customer, I am going to manufacture some special product for him. Now, for producing that product, I bought on rent a specific equipment. I brought on rent a specific equipment for which I am paying rupee 20,000 as the higher charges to the another person. And I'm going to use that particular thing to manufacture a particular item for my customer. Now I am going to charge this amount specifically from my customer. So it is also categorized as the direct expense. Then it says fees for technical assistance. For example, I am dealing in the various kind of furniture. A customer comes to me, he asks me that, boss, I want to get a sofa manufactured. I said, okay, boss, give me the design. I will do the sofa. I will prepare, manufacture the sofa. He says, no, I do not want. First of all, you come to my place, you measure how much space is there in inches, etc. So I said, for this, I will charge separate amount because I'm giving you the technical services. He said, okay, no problem. I'll pay you. So I am going to charge rupee 3,000 for that service, 3,000 rupee fee for that service. So that is called fees for technical assistance. That is also categorized as direct expense. Now it says cost of product specific drawing or design. Same example, the person comes, he says, please manufacture a sofa for me. I said, please give me the design. He says, I don't have the design. I have the design in my mind. You can ask, you can ask your engineer to sit with me. I will give him all my inputs and he can then prepare a layout. He can prepare a design. So I said my engineer is going to charge rupee 500 rupee per hour, and the design specification took 3 hours in total. So 500 multiply 3 rupee 1500 I will charge. That is the product specific drawing or design. That is also direct expense. Then cost of product specific software in the similar manner, as you said, design or drawing in the similar manner. For example, to manufacture a particular product for my customer, I have developed a software. Now that software is relating to this product only. So that cost shall also be categorized as direct expense. Then amortized cost of molds, patterns, patents, etc. The various small things, various kind of things which are used in the manufacturing, and these are having a definite life. For example, I have taken a patent for one of my process, or I am using certain molds, certain patterns. For example, there is a tire. For example, there is a tire. Now, tire for each and every vehicle is different. For each and every car, the tire is going to be different. How is it made sure that the tire takes a particular shape? So there are molds and patterns which take the exact shape. For example, you take an ice cream, you eat an ice cream having a stick. Now, how that particular, it is the shape of that, let's say it is the shape, my drawing is not very good. For example, this is the shape of that ice cream. Now how is it possible that every time this shape is taken, so they put it into a certain kind of molds, after that it get molded like that. So if I am using any such item in my organization, for example, its cost is rupee 1 lakh and it is usable for 4 years. So for current year, rupee 25,000 is the amortization cost. So that is also categorized as direct expense. Then there is job charges paid to job worker. Now, I am in the business of furniture. The person comes, boss, I want to have a bed, to double bed made for me. I said, okay. There are workers working for me, and those are not my employee. I have a contact with them that for every bed you make, I am going to pay you rupee 2000. So when they made the bed, my workers, I paid them rupee 2000. Now this is not to be categorized as direct labor because they are not my employee. So they are working on principal to principal basis. That amount comes over here. And there is one more written which I have think. There is one more thing which I have written, cost of utilities such as power, fuel, steam, etc. What is this? Now, there is an option. Sometimes the ICAI takes it in the factory overhead and sometimes it takes it in the direct expense. But as per my belief, as the institute has specifically given it in the module itself that it is to be categorized as direct expense, we shall try to take it as the direct expense only. But even if you take it as a factory overhead, institute should not cut the marks. Okay. Now write down point number 5, factory overheads. Point number 5, factory overhead. First point, carriage on purchase return of material. So this is the point which we wrote over here and cut it. Carriage on the purchase return. I told you it comes under the factory overhead. Now second point, we'll write down about this. We said insurance of transit only, but once the goods have reached my factory, once they've reached the factory, after that if I get those insured, so the amount of premium which I pay, that shall also come under the factory overhead. Okay. Insurance of raw material, WIP, held in stock. So once these items are with me stock, so where these will be? These will be in the factory. So the expenditure should come over here in the factory overhead. Expenses paid for pollution control. So we are making the list of only the important points. Otherwise, it is very simple. I'm not making the whole list. Otherwise, it will be endless. For example, we wrote factory overhead. Now it is very easy to understand once we are solving a question. If there is any item which we think it relates to the factory, it should go to the factory overhead. But yes, there are certain items where the confusion may be there. So we are making the list for all such confusing items only. Expenses paid for pollution control. Next, expenses paid for engineering and maintenance. These all are the terms related with the factory. lease rent of production asset. Now, what does it mean? Lease rent of production asset. So, production asset simply means any machinery, etc. If I have taken on rent rather than buying, if I have bought this item, then the depreciation shall come over here. But if I have not bought that item, I have taken it on a rent, then the lease rent of that shall come here. Now, some student may think, sir, the lease charges, higher charges were here as well. Now, this was a specific equipment for use in a particular customer's order only. This is not the case over here. It is a general machine which I have installed in my factory. I have taken it out rent and I'm paying, let's say, a monthly rent or quarterly or annual rent. So that is the feeling over here. That is the thing over here. Basically, not for a particular customer, but for the business in general. For my factory use in general, I have taken this asset. Next. Drawing and design department. Drawing and design department cost. So there may be a separate department where we design our product. For example, if it is a phone of Samsung company, then there will be a particular department which will be designing this particular phone. So I have to pay the salaries of that particular department. So that will come here. Okay. Again, the design or drawing cost was here only was the product specific which belonged to a particular customer only. Over here, it is not the case. It is the drawing and design department in general. Next, wages paid to non-productive worker. So there was one question in the examination long ago, where it was written wages paid to non-productive worker. So this shall come over here. If question says wages paid to productive worker, that is a direct wages. If it says non-productive worker, please put it in the factory. A special note over here. If question writes indirect material or if question writes indirect material or indirect labor. Now, if the question has written just the wording indirect material, indirect labor, it has not given any hint. We know that indirect material, labor, or indirect expense, it can be further divided into either production or office or selling and distribution. But I'm saying the question has not given any clue, no hint at all. What will you do? We will take this to the factory order. Whenever the question is given just the wording indirect material, indirect labor, and nothing else, it is always assumed to be belonging to factory overheads. If question writes indirect material, indirect labor, take it to factory overheads. Done. So it is point number 5. After this, we will write down about point number 12. That is the administration overhead related to production activity. Okay, child. Point number 12. Administration overheads related to production activity. So let us make a small list because this is important. In examination, it will be very difficult for you to identify that it is an administration or related to general nature or production nature. So we'll make a list. Number 1, salary paid to production control manager. Salary paid to production control manager, because the production word is here as well as the manager word is here. Production means related to production activity, but the wording manager etc is usually used with the administrative duties. So when the two words are there together, it means it is the administration overhead which relates with the production. Next, expenses paid for administration of factory work. Expenses paid for administration of factory work. Then production planning office expenses. So basically, whenever there is a flavor of both of these things together, that is production and the office, all such things shall come under the admin overhead related to production activity. Write down till here. Okay. So we go to the questions of such type now where the details of various items will be given. So let us write down concept number 6. So let us write down concept number 6. Preparation of cost sheet. Preparation of cost sheet when details of various items are given. Preparation of cost sheet when details of various items are given. So as we have learned till now, whenever the details of various items are given, we should clearly find out that the item belongs to which category of the expense we have done till now, and then to think. Okay. So we have got our question number 2 for this. Let's come down, child. Let's come to this question number 2, concept number 6. Very important. I'll mark this as a 5-star question. I'll mark this as a 5-star question. Aji. Let's see. So it says there is a company A Limited produces a single product X. So it makes a single product, only one product. During the month of December, it says the company has produced 14,560 tons of X. So production is given. It says the details for the month of December are as follows. So it gives various items. For example, material consumed, it says. Okay, it is very clear where it will come. Power consumed. Power. I told you cost of utilities like power, steam, etc. should come in the direct expense. So 13,000 kilowatt hour at the rate of 7, you will multiply these two. We'll take it in the direct expense. Then it says diesel consumed. Again, it's a consumption of fuel. 1,000 liter at 93. So it will again come in the direct expense. It says wages and salary paid. It is surely the direct labor. Gratuity and leave encashment paid. To whom it will be paid? Gratuity and leave encashment to the employees. So it is again direct labor. Hiring charges paid for HEMM. Now, what is HEMM? It is heavy earth moving machinery. Basically, it's a kind of machine which is you have paid the hiring charges for that. It's again a part of direct expense. Hiring charges. Just don't see the hiring charges and keep putting these items under the direct expense. No, it doesn't go like that. You have to read the full sentence. Hire charges paid for cars used for official purpose. So for official purpose, we have taken the services of some cab operators, etc., and we have paid them the hiring charges. So it is purely the administration overhead. Then reimbursement of diesel cost for the car. To that cab operator, we paid rupee 20,000 as well. So it is again related to administration overheads. Kendaji, the hiring of cars attracts GST under RCM at 5% without credit. So it says whenever you hire the cars as per the GST rules, you have to pay the GST at 5% without the credit, means you will not get any credit. So how much amount you have paid? 80,000 hiring charges, 20,000 is reimbursements. In total, you have paid rupee 1 lakh. So 1 lakh into 5%, that 5,000 rupees shall also come under the ambit of administration overheads. What is the meaning of RCM? It means reverse charge mechanism. Then something special. It says maintenance cost paid for weighing bridge. So there is a weighing bridge where the weighment is done of the trucks when empty and when loaded with the goods. So maintenance cost paid for weighing bridge rupees 7,000 in total. In the bracket it says used for weighing of final goods at the time of dispatch. When is it, when, why this cost is being incurred? For weighment. And when this weighment is being done? At the time of final dispatch, means when the goods are being sold. So it is selling and distribution overhead. Next point, AMC means annual maintenance cost. AMC cost of CCTV installed at weighing bridge. So you have installed a CCTV used for weighing of final goods at the time of dispatch. So when the weighment is being done, we are using that CCTV to see that no hanky panky is being done. And factory premises. So CCTV has been installed at weighing bridge and factory premises. We have taken an AMC, and to that agency we are paying rupee 6,000 and 18,000 per month respectively. Now understand, AMC cost of CCTV installed at weighing bridge is rupee 6,000 and the AMC cost of CCTV which is being used in factory premises is 18,000. So this will be your selling and distribution overhead, and as this is being used in the factory, so it will come under the factory overhead. Then it says TADA, traveling allowance, dearness allowance and hotel bill of the sales manager 16,000. Of whom? Sales manager. So it is the selling overhead. It is the selling overhead. If you want to bifurcate this, which one is selling, which one is distribution, then it is at the time of when the goods are going, means distributing. Again, AMC cost of the CCTV at the time of weighing bridge, means the goods are being dispatched, distributed. So those two are distribution, and this sales manager selling overheads. Question further gives you certain data. It says company has 180 employees who work for 26 days in a month. So they, in a month, 26 days the factory is being run, and there are total 180 employees. So it says prepare a cost sheet for the month of December 21. First of all, we do this, then it is asking some other detail which is dependent upon the preparation of cost sheet. So without wasting the time, we are first starting with cost sheet. So it is answer number 2. So this is answer number 2. Cost sheet of A Limited, and this is point number A. So first of all, we are doing point A, cost sheet of A Limited for the month of December 2021. Particulars, details and amount. Okay, so we shall start one by one. First of all, we have to write down the materials consumed given in the question rupee 15 lakh. Materials consumed child 15 lakh. Then we have to add down the direct labor. Now for direct labor, the set of expenditure given was 2. Their wages and salary was given 1. I am writing this detail in the inner column, and in the outer column we shall take the consolidated figure. So it says you paid a rupee 64 lakh towards the wages and salary, and then gratuity and leave encashment of 44 lakh 20,000. Gratuity and leave encashment 44 lakh 20,000. So 108 lakh and 20,000 comes in the outer column. Then we talk about the direct expenses. There were 3 direct expenses. Number 1 was, first of all, it was power consumed. Amount being 13,000 kilowatt hour. At the rate of 7, it was 9,000. Then there was consumption of diesel as well. Diesel consumed 1000 liters at the rate of 93 per liter. And then there was hiring charges paid for HEMM. Hiring charges paid for HEMM, rupee 13 lakh. So in total this becomes 14 lakh 84,000. And when you add up these, it becomes the prime cost. Add it up, becomes 1 crore 38 lakh 4,000. 1 crore 38 lakh 4,000. Okay. After this, we have to do the factory overheads part. So we say plus factory overheads. There was AMC cost of CCTV installed at factory premises. AMC cost of CCTV installed at factory premises rupee 18,000. That was the only factory overhead cost given in the question. You add it up, it becomes the factory cost. Normally we say after adding the factory overhead, it becomes gross factory cost, but gross word is to be used when there is a presence of WIP. As there is no point of WIP in the question, so this you can write it simply as the factory cost plus after the factory cost you do the treatment of those 5 special point, quality control, R&D, etc. After that it becomes cost of production. The question has not given any point out of those 5, so it is itself the cost of production. It is itself the cost of production. Further, as the question has not provided anything about the opening and closing stock of FG, so this is itself the cost of goods sold as well. This is itself the cost of goods sold. 13 lakh, sorry, 1 crore 38 lakh 28,000. 1 crore 38 lakh 22,000. After this comes the administration overheads of general nature. Administration overheads, in bracket I write down general. So there was hiring charges of car, reimbursement of diesel for that, and GST paid. Okay, so 3 things. A point. Should we write it? No, we write down as a column. Okay. First of all, hiring charges of cars 80,000. Then reimbursement of diesel cost 20,000. GST at the rate of 5%. How does it come? 80,000 plus 20,000 multiply by 5%. So 1 lakh into 5% becomes 5,000. So 1 lakh 5,000. Okay, so this is about the administration overheads. Then comes the selling overheads. So in selling overheads, there was TADA and hotel bill paid for sales manager. 10,000 G. And there were two items in the distribution overheads. There were two items as a part of distribution overheads. First, maintenance cost paid for weighing bridge, maintenance cost paid for child weighing bridge, rupees 7,000, and then the AMC cost of CCTV installed at weighing bridge. AMC cost of CCTV installed at weighing bridge rupee 6,000. So in total, it becomes 13,000. And after adding all of these, you get the sorry, wrong choice of color, the green one. It gives you child cost of sales. Okay. So what we have to do, we have to add up the cost of goods sold with administration overhead, selling, and the distribution overhead. So we had 1 crore 38 lakh 22,000, and when you add all of these, you get 1 crore 39 lakh 56,000. 1 crore 39 lakh 56,000. So this is the cost of sale. Question has not given any hint regarding the profit or the sales. So we can prepare the cost sheet only up to this particular point. So one is this thing in the question. One is this thing in the question, and rest we go ahead and see. So it says compute earnings per man shift and output per man shift for the month of December. Output per man shift, the total output is given 14,560. That is correct. But it is saying it is a total. You find out per man shift. Now, if it would have asked me per man, I would have divided by 180. If it would have asked per shift, as the factory is being run 26 days in a month and the question has not given any hint, so we will obviously safely assume that there is a one shift per day. We would have divided by 26, we would have got the output per shift, but it is asking per man shift. So basically man shift is made up of two things, man and shift. Whenever it is something like that, we call it a composite unit. If it would have been only man or only shift, it would have been a single unit. If it is a man shift, it is two units. So man and shift, how will you find out? First of all, number of man shift. You are having 180 men and 26 shift. You will multiply, you will get the man shift. So divide the output by this man shift, you will get the output per man shift. So what it will give you means how much output has been done by one man per shift. In one day, what is the output done by one man? Similarly, it is asking for earnings per man shift. Now, the students start thinking, where is the earning given? Earning, you have to think from the viewpoint of the labor. So when you did the question, you did like this. So this is the amount of earning. This is the amount of earnings. So we have to divide it by the number of man shift so that we get the earning earned by amount earned by per worker per shift. So we have to find out these two things as per the question. So B point, first of all, we find the number of man shift. First of all, we find the number of man shift. So number of men multiply by number of shifts. 180 men and 26 shift. So in bracket we shall write down assuming one shift per day. Question has not given anything. So we assume there is one shift per day. 180 multiplied by 26 gives us 4680. Now, when we find earnings per man shift, means the formula is total earnings divided by number of man shift. Total earnings are 108 lakh 20,000 and the number of man shift is 4680. Please do the calculation on your calculator. You get 2311.97. 2311.97, or I can round it off to 2312 rupees. So per person per day they have earned 2312 rupees. This is the earnings per man shift. Similarly, the question has asked output per man shift. So we will do total output divide by number of men. Total output is 14,560 and the man shift are 4680. So when you do the calculation, you get 3.11 tons. 14,560 is in tons. So you get 3.11 tons. Please reach till here, child. Okay, so there is a question 3 which we are not going to do today. It again belongs to the same concept which we'll do in next class. Again, a very good question. We'll do it in next class, but I will write down the rating. It is definitely a 5-star question. And with respect to the homework, again, very important question. There is question number 11. I gave you question number 10 belonging to concept number 4, and there is a question number 11 which belongs to concept number 6. Again, it's again a very good question having various good points. So you have to do this question as well in the homework. This has been asked in RTP multiple times. To be very precise, 4 times it has been asked in RTP. You can give it a rating of 5-star as well. Good question. Not all points are good, but some points in this are very much good. Now I'm not going to give you any hint. It is your duty. You have to read and identify where the item must go. For example, it is given repair and maintenance paid for plant and machinery. Now what do you think where it should go? Plant and machinery is used in factory. So any expense relating to plant and machinery shall obviously go under the factory overhead. So you have to think like this. Okay, so we will stop here for the day. We have taken our study at some further level today by understanding some new concepts, and when we meet in the next lecture, I will check the homework, means these two questions, question number 10 and question number 11. Make sure you do these questions before starting the next lecture. It is as good as a test. So you have to solve it and then get it evaluated from me in the next lecture. So it is as good as a test. Okay, child. So I'll take a leave and see you in the next class. Till then, bye bye.